Good morning, everybody. My name is Miranda Rodriguez from Marketing for the Uninhibited, and I'm also the host of the Marketing for the Uninhibited podcast, which you can find right here on YouTube. Just hit subscribe. So for the past 4 weeks, we've been going over the 5 steps to submitting your letter of resignation. So step 1 was how to quit your job was to listen to yourself and trust your gut. Step 2 was making a plan. Step 3 was moving through fear. And last week we talked about taking action, which is all very important. And actually, those steps, those 4, could take you anywhere from 6 months to 1 year, depending on your timeline, right? The timeline that you put in your plan. So we're going to go ahead now and talk about what it means to actually submit your letter of resignation, which is step 5. But just keep in mind that you're probably not going to do this for a while, especially if you just started. So sometimes you hear stories of people who quit their jobs or who make the leap from corporate America to, pursuing their business full time, whether it's an Etsy shop or a gym or whatever the case may be. And it seems really romantic and it seems so magical, like, wow, look at them, they did it, and they're like paying their bills, and yeah, that's cool. But and in my head, a lot of times I like to envision people like going all Office Space, like kicking down cubicles and damning the man and just getting real like angry with it. But that's really not how it happens, especially if you want to maintain those contacts. So um, let's be practical about it and put together a few steps to consider when you actually submit your letter of resignation. So this is like the week of, you're ready. You've checked off everything on your plan. Maybe you're within your timeline, maybe you're not, maybe you're ahead of time, maybe you're behind. Like, it's okay, wherever you are. If you're ready to submit your letter of resignation, the first thing you should consider, honestly, like, you need to have a real conversation with yourself, are your finances. So whether this is with yourself, whether it's with your spouse, whether it's with your financial advisor, maybe you need Jesus, I don't know, but go through your finances and really take a hard look at what you need. What is the bare minimum you need every month to pay your bills, to buy groceries, to keep up with household items, and make a list of those things. And then you're going to want to go through and look at like all your minimum payments for things. Maybe you have student loans. Maybe you also want to have a savings account. So you need to check your savings account. You need to be realistic with yourself. Like, if you're planning to float yourself with your savings account, how much time do you have in your savings account? And then after that, if things aren't going to plan yet, because it takes time to build up clientele and then it'll ebb and flow. So it takes time to build up that consistent income. Outside of your own personal savings, like what's your plan for growing your business? And maybe you need to have a backup plan. So number 1 is finances. Understand them, be honest about them, have a plan. Of course, have a plan. Number 2 is dedicated workspace. So right now, this isn't your full-time job, so you're probably squeezing it in the mornings before you go to work, maybe in the evenings when you get home, and that could involve like, maybe you're working from your couch, maybe you're getting up early and working from bed, or maybe you already have a dedicated workspace, so good for you. But if you don't, and the couch or the bed or the kitchen table is currently your workspace, that's okay for a little bit, but at some point, when this becomes full-time, you're going to want to designate a spot in your house, in your community, somewhere that you can go and get work done without being interrupted, because this is for real now. This is serious. So one of the ways I find it best to take your business seriously and start treating it like a business is to give it a home like a business. So most businesses have offices. We'll talk about your website later. We'll talk about all of the kind of the nitty-gritty things you need to get your business started at a later time. But right now I'm just talking from a practical standpoint. Can you put a desk in the corner of your bedroom? Can you put a desk in the corner of your living room? Maybe you have a co-working space you can join. Coffee shops are great, but they get old real fast because you don't know if you're going to find an outlet. You don't know what seating you're going to get that day. You don't know how loud it's going to be. You don't know what their internet connection is going to be like. And if you have a workshop, like if you're an Etsy seller or someone who's pursuing a craft as their business, then I would set aside a dedicated space in your workshop for, heads down admin work time. So number one, finances. Number two, dedicated workspace. Number three, networking. I know we hear that word. I hate that word. I think that it has been given a bad rep, probably by a few, a very stereotypical type of person. But networking is really important because, one, it shows you that you're not alone on this journey. This is new for you, and it's helpful to find people who are on a similar path that you can relate to, because likely your friends haven't done this, your family members haven't done this. Maybe some of them have, and that's great if you have that resource within your own family or your friend group. But more than likely, you're going to feel a little bit alone because this is such new territory. So get out there and network and just see what other people are doing. You never know what that networking could lead to. And really what I think the most important part about networking, especially in the beginning, is because I have people tell me all the time, like, I don't even know what I'm doing yet. How can I go network and present myself? And like, that's the fastest way to figure it out. Trial by fire, baby. Like, put yourself out there, force yourself to have to answer the question like, oh, who do you work for? What do you do? What clients do you work with? Who are you looking to work with? Would you accept this? Like, you never know what's going to come out of that, what ideas you may get, just from being in a room, listening to other business owners discuss as well. So I would suggest three things when you're submitting your letter of resignation that week. Get them on the calendar. So before you actually submit your letter of resignation, you need to have a cold, hard look at your finances. Be honest with them. Be real with them. Honest with yourself. Real with yourself, and whoever else that affects. Then you want to find a dedicated workspace and get it set up. This is like nesting when you have a baby. Like, you're getting ready to make a big move and a big change in your life, and you need to get prepared for it. Like, you wouldn't bring a baby into the world without having a designated place for that baby to sleep. Minimum, right? Minimum. And then networking. So get comfortable in your new role. Get comfortable putting yourself out there. Now, to be fair, it did take me a few months between the time I submitted my letter of resignation and actually, like, so you submit your letter of resignation and likely you're going to have a couple of weeks of planning, right? So you're not going to like go all office space and kick down the door. So you will have time in that 2-week time frame to work on these things as well. But finances, I would definitely get in place before you do that. So networking, it took me a few months to get to networking events, and then I did. And every time, I don't like big networking events. I don't find them very beneficial for my business, but I do find them to be great practice for my message and for seeking out clients and seeing, like, do they fit the client I'm looking to work with? Do they not? Where do I have holes in my business? What are other people doing? It's just good to stay involved in your community. Meetup is a great resource for that. Also, maybe your local chamber of commerce, depending on where you live. So just go ahead and check those out. So now you've got a goal, you've got a plan, you've acknowledged your fears, and you're well on your way to submitting your letter of resignation. And I'll be here to help you. If you have questions or you get stuck along the way, we're not even to a point where we can talk about marketing right now. So we will get there, I promise. But right now, just focus on those things: finances, dedicated workspace, and networking. And then prior to that, just stick to your plan, man. All right, I hope you all have a great week. I will be back here next Monday with a new series. I know it was late today. It's Monday. We won't even get into it. So cheers. I'll see you next week.